Julia, Nadia, and
Hello.
Tatiana. Is that everyone? What do you think?
Hello.
Hello.
Good to share with you.
Okay. So listen. So we have this elevator speech. I'm going to give you my elevator speech, and then Professor Marston will give you hers, and Professor Mack will give you hers, and then you all and then you will give your own elevator speeches. My name is Joe Lero. I live in Austin, Texas, in the southern part of the United States. I'm married. My children are 46 and 40, and I have 4 grandchildren. My oldest grandchild is 12, and my youngest grandchild is 6. I also have some cats. I like to cook, and I like to work in the garden. That's my story.
Good.
Does anybody have any questions for Professor Lero?
I have a question. My granddaughter is 12 years old, and in August,
I'll document.
And she has her birthday in August. Why is this next birthday of hers so very important? Why is my granddaughter's next to? Why is this next birthday very important? Nadia, do you know why? Why is it so important?
I have no idea.
Well, she's 12 now, so let's count in English, okay? Count with me in English. 9, 10,
11, 12.
Nadia?
13.
13. Oh,
Yes.
there's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And that important syllable, teen, is in there. Oh.
She's going to be a teenager, yeah.
She's going to be a teenager, and it's not like that doesn't happen in Russian, does it?
Yeah.
Huh? What do you say in Russian? You don't say anything because there's no change in Russian, no. Yes.
For girls, you are still a child until 18, I think.
until 18, still a child, yeah. So my granddaughter is very excited because she's finally going to be a teenager, and she's already talking about how she will spend that day. All right, let's see. It looks like Katya is logging on. We have good.
Hey, Joe, I don't know if you heard it, Professor Lero. There was a question about what you cook the most.
What do I cook the most? Soup. I cook soup the most. I love soup. I love soup.
Unusual for American. I think it's very unusual for American people to cook a soup.
To cook soup, huh? Yeah? I don't know. Not for me.
Professor Lero is unusual, and he's an unusually good cook.
Okay. Well, that's my. We have others joining us. Ayrat Garisyanov. Ayrat. Let's kind of work. Let's let these people get logged on before we begin our. I like to cook soup.
But it's only fair to tell them that you also write a blog where you post other really wonderful recipes.
I do.
What? I didn't know about this.
I do. I write a blog. Let me write you the. I'm trying to think of mine. I can't remember what's it. Here it is.
Okay. Well, while you think, I'm going to see if AAT and Yekaterina can hear us. Can you both hear us?
I can see.
Excellent, AAT. And Yekaterina, are you there? Your microphone is muted. Can you hear us? Okay, I'm not sure.
Normally, when you come to class, every time you will see on your left, the left-hand side of your screen, there is a procedure that we will ask you to follow as soon as you get here. As soon as you log on, we would like you to do a sound check, that is, to test your microphone. So you will turn on your microphone and then say hello or something else.
I can demonstrate that.
Yeah, good.
Just a moment. Let me share my desktop again real quick. So you'll get into class, and then you'll come up to audio. And you see here there's a speaker microphone audio test. So you will want to.
Oh, you went away. I cannot hear you now.
Oh.
So that can be useful, but in my experience, the most effective way to handle that test is just to turn on your microphone and say hello. Then if there's some kind of a problem, you can use that audio feature to try to debug the problem. But I've forgotten about that, and it's useful at times, so that's good. Then
I would agree, though.
Yeah. The next thing we want you to do is to turn on your camera. Once you do that, you may need to adjust your camera angle. Let me demonstrate. Watch my face. Now you will have a harder time understanding me because my camera is adjusted so you cannot see my face or my mouth. Now look how much easier it is to understand me when you can look at me. So the other thing to consider is the lighting. If you are strongly backlit, let's see if I can demonstrate this, then it's really a lot harder to make connections with other people. So having a well-placed light and a well-adjusted camera are two things that are going to help you have a better experience communicating with the other people in this class. And the next thing, which Abby, maybe you can demonstrate too, is to set up something in the chat. Write something like, hello, good morning, yes, good evening.
Let's practice that now, shall we? And would each student write something in the chat? Like write your name and your town.
I also wanted to point out that you can type a message to everyone. You see send to everyone, or you can also send messages specifically to certain people. So I'll stop sharing now, and then you can all practice.
So the task that we want you to do is to write, just as AAT has done, a message in the chat.
AAT, good for you. Thank you.
So we want everybody to do it. yes. And there's something else about your microphone that you may understand. If you don't have a microphone and are just receiving the audio, you're going to cause some feedback. So the way to avoid that, if you have that problem, the best way is if you can have a headphone and a microphone. Otherwise, the speakers that are in your computer will give too much feedback, and it will distort the sound for everyone, not just for you. So if you are plagued with that problem temporarily, we hope it won't be a permanent thing, then you need to know how to mute your microphone when you're not talking. And then you have to remember that it's muted, so if you want to say something, you don't have this problem. So do please check these three things every time as soon as you can when you get in. And we're making a big production about this today so that we maybe won't have to deal with it again. But if you have difficulty, then contact one of the three of us, and we will try to help you.
Well, are we ready to? We call this kind of work housekeeping. And housekeeping means that, well, you know, domo hasiaistvo, that we're taking care of kind of basic things. And I would like right now, let's see, I have given my elevator speech, and now I would like for Professor Marston to give her elevator speech, and then Professor Mack to give hers, and then Aigul, Ayrat, Yulia, Nadia, and Katya, and Tatiana, I would like you to give your elevator speech, a short introduction about yourself, so that we know, and kind of tempting enough that we would want to ask follow-up questions. Aigul, are you ready?
Yes.
Давай.
Okay, is it my turn?
Oh, it's Jan Marston.
Okay, my name is Jan Marston, and I do not speak Russian. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here, to help you remember that in order to communicate in this class, you need to speak in English, because otherwise I'm lost. And I am, however, a linguist, and for years I have taught English, French, and Spanish. And my academic specialty is medieval French languages and literatures. So I am married. I have an adult daughter and two grandchildren. One of them is that on the brink of becoming a teenager, like Professor Liro's granddaughter. She's 12, and my older grandson is 22. That's what we call a large gap family, because they're 10 years apart. I like to garden. I like to cook. I have two cats. One of them is sleeping quite close to me, and when she gets bored with sleeping, she's liable to walk in front of the camera. So I'm sure you will meet everyone's cats by the time we're done. So do you have any questions?
Like dogs?
I do like dogs. However, my cats won't allow me to have one right now. They are anxious to share the living space because they need servants. And so I wait on them hands and foot, as we say. But I always admire the dogs that live in the neighborhood and pat them. And my husband said, no, we can't do it. They'd scratch our eyes out. So I have had dogs in the past when I had less fierce cats controlling the household. But right at the moment, I have no dog. Do you have a dog?
I used to have a dog, and I loved him very much. But he's not with me anymore.
Mm-hmm. A big dog or a little dog?
It was a little dog, and it was the member of our family.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all loved him very, very much.
Yes.
Yes, I had a little dog too. And the dog and the cat that we had then were great friends, but they grew up together.
Mm.
And it was no way when these new cats came on, they were not having a dog. So we have no dog. Any other questions? I think I forgot to tell you where I live. I live in corn country in the heart of the Midwest United States in Des Moines, Iowa. And I lived for a long time in Austin, Texas, where Professor Lero lives, and another long time in Dallas, Texas, to the north of there. So I like Texas a lot, and I came here to work at the university, which is a block away from where I live. And now I've talked way too much, and it's time to let someone else talk. And who did you say was up first, Professor Lero?
Professor Mack, her turn.
All right.
I will keep it short and sweet. So I also have lived in Texas. I lived there 2 years, and I graduated from the University of Texas a year ago. So I have that in common with Professor Marston. And I met Professor Lero in Austin when I was there as a student. Let's see, about me. I'm married. I live in the state of Missouri, so it's just south of Iowa, where Professor Marston lives. We have 3 cats and no children yet. Maybe I'm hoping someday that will change, but there's still time. My husband is a police officer or a cop. And what about me? I really like studying foreign languages, and one of my neighbors now, I have a new neighbor because I've lived here just about a year. She is from Afghanistan, so I have been studying a little bit of Farsi. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. So the writing system is difficult, but that's a little bit about me. Do you have any questions? Yeah, or Professor Lero, if you had something, go ahead.
No, I was. That's fascinating. Next week, students, I will show you a photograph or two of Professor Mack when she visited Austin. I think you'll enjoy that. So look forward to that. I'm going to make myself a note right now. Post photos. Okay, I want to hear about the students though.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Excuse me, we did have a question.
Oh, there is a question. Go ahead.
Student who wants to know, what languages do you know?
Oh, well, know is a very tricky word. Yes. I have studied a number of languages, so primarily French, German, and Russian. I've also studied some Latin, which was a long, long time ago. a little bit of Scots Gaelic, and then I'm dabbling now in the Farsi. So most of those I've forgotten, but I can still converse a little bit in German and Russian and French. So primarily French. Yeah.
Okay.
An interesting question.
Good. Okay, are we ready, students? So there's another question. Oh, there's a thoughtful question from Ira.
Yes. No, it's a very good question. Go ahead. Sometimes I do worry about him a lot. Yesterday, for example, he had a fight. And it's, of course, very dangerous. So when I hear, he usually tells me after the fight. He doesn't usually tell me before. And so I'll get a text message and he'll be like, just had a big fight. I'm like, oh! And he says, but don't worry, I'm not shot or injured. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And we've been married 2 years in May, so soon it will be our 2nd anniversary. So yes, very, very thoughtful questions. Thank you, everyone. But now we want to hear from you. So we want to hear your elevator speeches.
I go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Tell us about Igul. What? I don't know that the name. That's not a Russian name, is it?
It's Tatar name. It's translated as sunflower.
So tell us about yourself.
I live in Russia, in Kazan city. I'm married, have a child. Now I'm studying English and studied at another courses too. What else? My first profession is economist. I'm finance, and now I am sitting with my baby and waiting the second baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pregnant.
How old is your baby?
The first, my son is 3 years old.
3. And he walks and talks, huh?
Yes. She's very excited and always wants to talk with me, to play, to try to explain something. He is very interesting boy.
Mm-hmm. Does he know how to use a computer?
He likes to watch some films and to speak by Skype with grandpa.
Isn't that wonderful? And a 3-year-old child can do that. Wonderful, wonderful. Any comments or questions for Igul? No questions. Good. Ira, turn on your microphone and your camera and tell us about yourself.
Good evening. My name is Iraq. I'm 24 years old. I turned 24 recently. It was at the end of March. I do like music, not only listening to. I also like playing. I'm a drummer, not currently involved in any band, but I'm hoping to change that. I have 3 cats.
3 cats. Yeah.
Faces. And
3 cats. Yeah, 3 cats. I have 1. Professor Marston has 2. People like that. How many students like cats? How many students like dogs? How many like cats? Cats?
Cats.
Cats? Dogs? No dogs for me. I got your name is also not a Russian name. What is your name?
It's not a name. It's possible solution. It Isaac means amazing, which is not. And also can mean from the wood. My mother named me after one of cousin's boys. I don't really know. But she named.
Fascinating. Good. Okay, Yulia, thank you. Ivat, any questions or comments for Ivat?
I was curious. What do you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What do you do? Are you a student? Maybe you said, and I didn't hear.
In English at university, I want to be a translator or an interpreter or linguist because
Many options. Yes, that's great.
Good. Yulia 8307. What is 8307? Is that your birthday? Yulia, are you there?
Yeah. I see you, but I can't hear you.
You guys, your microphone on? It's not off. Okay, Yulia, we're gonna come back to you. We'll return to you. Nadia?
My name is Nadia. I'm 26 years old. And my last year was very interesting, was full of emotions and different events. I got married and I changed my job, my workplace, and I became the head of the department. So now I have to work for long hours, and I can say about myself that I'm a hard worker.
The head of department of what? What is your department?
Maybe you heard something about the contract system in Russia. We buy different feeds for state needs. It's very difficult, nervous job. If you make a mistake, you might have a big fine. So it's very nervous job.
Oh yeah. What is the hardest thing you've had to do as the head of the department? The most difficult thing?
The most hard thing is to communicate with my colleagues because they are older than me.
Oh.
And sometimes there are some problems because they think that I'm too young to make some decisions.
Yeah, they say, well, what does she know? She's just 26.
Yes.
What is the easiest thing?
The easiest thing to check documents, I think.
That's kind of routine work. Yeah.
Yes, it's routine, and I can do my best.
Yeah. You sometimes you say I could do that with my eyes closed. You know this expression? I could do that with my eyes closed. I could do that with my eyes closed. That's a good expression to know. That means that something is very, very easy. Well, good luck to you. I think that being young and being in a position of being in a senior position could be very, very difficult. Good for you. Any other comments? Any other comments? Tatiana?
Yeah.
Слушаю вас.
Okay, I'm Tatiana, I'm 27, and I wrote about my eternally studying because of 5 years ago I graduated Tambov University. It was human resources management. So I've decided then that it's not enough, and I've decided to study to get one more education. It was law. Then I decided that I want to study English. So now I'm studying English with Kazan University and trying to combine it with my work as an office manager in a company and with traveling and with friends and some other stuff.
So you said you studied law. Did you finish law school?
Not law school, but higher education.
Higher education. And you say that I am an eternal student, but trying to combine it with work, home, friends, and traveling. Where have you traveling?
There are not a lot of countries I visited, but I have great purposes for it, and I've visited a lot of cities in Russia. I visited Belarus, Kazan also, and Greece. It was very great experience this year. So I have plans for Hungary now.
Hungary.
Yes.
Listen to me, Tanya. For 3 years, I lived in Minsk. I lived in Minsk.
Oh,
I
that
lived in
was
Minsk.
great.
So, yeah. What did you think about Belarus?
What?
What did you think about Belarus?
I was born there.
Huh? Well, I know, but did you like it?
Yeah, I like that very much. My parents were militarists, so I was born there. But then we ought to move to Russia. So I missed a lot about my friends in Belarus and missed about the country.
Yeah. Well, Belarus reminds me of the old Soviet Union.
Yeah. Yes, it's so.
Yeah. Nadia says Belarus is great.
I have relatives in Belarus.
Huh? What?
I have relatives in Belarus.
Where in Belarus?
It's a small town called Lepid.
Yep.
Lepid.
Yep. I don't know it. I don't know it.
I don't know it.
I don't know. I have lived in Mogilev.
Oh, I was there.
You've been in Mogilev?
Yeah, I was there.
No, nobody knows where Mogilev is. Mogilev. There was a school there. I taught in a school in Mogilev.
Great.
Some kind of lycée. Anyway, that was a very interesting part of my life. Very interesting part of my life. Okay, Katya, are you there? Katya, can you hear us?
I'm here.
Tell us about yourself.
My name is Ekaterina. I'm from Kazan. I finished the Kazan State University 5 years ago. I'm a lawyer just now. I work in a big bank in Kazakhstan, in Russia. The name of this bank is Akbar. Maybe you will hear about it. I don't like to stay on one place. I try to development every day, every time. Last time I was a professional sportsman. I am a shooter, master of sport. I took place in different championship, world championship, European championship in junior. Take different good place, third place, second place. I have many medals, but I finished my sport profession just now, and I inside my lawyer profession just now.
Sports, huh?
Yes,
Sports.
not finished in this moment.
Wow.
I have some reasons for that.
Yeah. Did you go to Sochi, to the Olympics?
My last competition was in China, the university in 2011. I took place, but it's not my best competition.
Wow.
Because I work with only Russian companies, I forgot my language, English language, and I want to practice and to get more higher level to know the English, because just now it's a problem. I have worked with different contracts from partners to another country, but I have a problem with language.
Boy, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Katya, when you were in Thailand, did you like the food? Did you like the food in Thailand?
No, not good for I like European food, for example. Russian food, not China. That smell is not good.
Well, good. Any other comments? Anyone?
I was in Europe, for example, Finland, Italy, Cyprus, Spain.
Okay. Well, let's listen. I wonder if I could ask all of you, when you're not talking, to turn off your microphones, to mute your microphones. Okay, because that way, yeah, just turn them off. If you want to talk, turn it back on. But it makes a lot of feedback, and it sometimes is difficult for everyone to hear everyone else.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. That's great. I go. Okay. No problem. No, listen, I think that everyone already read the assignment. For the next, for today and for the next 3 weeks, we're going to talk about literature. We're going to talk about literature and how to look critically at a piece of literature. And literature means novels and poetry and children's story, and almost everything will fall into this category. And you say, well, why do we need this? Why do we need a model? Why do we need a schema? Why do we need a formal way to look at this? Well, I think you will find that this model gives you some information about what kind of questions you might want to ask when you read a piece of literature. And I hope that all of you read these factors. These are factors. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 factors. I'm going to do 4, but Nadia, I would like you to tell us what verisimilitude is, Nadia, okay? And I want you to talk about characters and Tatiana, I would like you to talk about conflict. And Igul, how about point of view? And Katya, how about setting? And Julia, I'm not sure if you have a microphone or not, but maybe you could talk about language and tone. And when I say talk about, I just want you to tell us what these terms mean and what kind of questions that we want to talk about. And IDOT says, are we discussing the three bears? Actually, we can discuss the two pieces of literature. We can discuss the three bears, and we can discuss the poem by Anna Akhmatova. But let's talk about the factors first, and then we can look at the poem or the three bears. Okay? And if you want to use these stories to illustrate your point, that would be ideal. That would be ideal. So now form. Form. When I say form, what's the form of a work of literature? I'm talking about how is it organized? How's the text divided? If it's a novel, is it divided into chapters? If it's a poem, is it divided into stanzas? Some poems are, some poems are not. We looked at one poem by Anna Akhmatova, Minyomen Koshatsa. It has stanzas, 1, 2, 3. But other poems by Anna Akhmatova do not have stanzas. It's just one piece of work. A novel like War and Peace has chapters. Anna Akhmatova has chapters. Some novels don't have chapters. Some works don't have chapters. Form. Is there movement? Does the theme change in the work, or does it kind of move chronologically or thematically? Form. Verisimilitude. Nadia, what does this mean, verisimilitude?
Наподобие in Russian.
Huh? In English,
How it refers to life. Do you believe in it or not? No?
Yeah, do you believe in it or not? Or could it happen or not? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, could it happen or not? So we looked at two things. We had the three bears, Three Medvedya, and we had a poem by Akhmatova. So which one is believable?
Of course, the poem is believable.
Sure, the poem could happen. And how about the three bears? Could that happen?
I think if you are a child, you may think that it could happen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the appeal of children's stories. That's the appeal of something like Chiburashka. You know that kids see this stuff and they say, "Oh, for me this is real." But for people like yourself and myself, can you imagine yourself in a situation like the three bears?
No, and
no.
I think it's easy because when you're a child, you have reaching the need.
Right. And when you're a child.
And when you grow up, it went away. So
it went away.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay. Good for you. That's it. Verisimilitude. Is this possible? Is this possible? Is this possible? Characters. IDOT. Can you? What are we talking about? When we talk about looking at the stories, looking at the characters in a piece of literature, what do we look for?
when we're looking at the main cause, probably that drives the process. We are looking at possible sources of conflict. We're looking at character, I say, is the main focus of the story.
Mm-hmm. So the main focus, who are the characters? In the Three Bears, who are the characters?
There are 4 characters, 1 little girl and 3 bears.
Yeah, and who tells the story?
No one in particular, none of the characters is from you. I wouldn't say author. It's like
we call that person the narrator. The narrator. It's an external narrator, right? And in Minyum Prashasa, who are the characters in that story?
What?
In the poem by Akhmatova, we don't know how to say goodbye. Minyum Prashasa, who are the characters in that story, in that piece of literature?
There are 2 characters, a woman and a man, maybe a young woman, young man.
Young woman and a young man. Who tells the story?
The woman.
The woman tells the story, huh? So the woman, it's a little different. And you say a young woman and a young man. Why do you think they're young?
Because of the poem, it speaks to me. I had a thought of not knowing where are you headed when you look around you and you don't understand what's happening, or you understand what's happening and you realizing that you're not part of it, and you're questioning that, and you feel distant everybody. And I think probably problems of young people.
Yeah. Do you think they're married?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. Well, but do you think they're lovers?
I would say she is very much in love with him. I don't know either because of her. But it is clear that his love is spoken.
His love is broken, or there's a stray love. Good. Okay. And that's a good way to discuss the next factor, which is conflict. Conflict. Tatiana, are you ready to tell us about conflict?
Yes, I guess so. The conflict in Three Bears is a conflict external, the girl and the bears, because she used their things because she came in their house. It's not her house, so it's a conflict with a private property, I guess. And it's a conflict a bit internal with a girl when she decides not to panic, I guess, and when she decides to be like at home in their house. So this is so, and in a poem, a conflict with a boy and a girl, they're lovers, I guess, and they have some problems. She thinks that they should have some simple and similar to others relationship, but they don't have so. So she guess it's a problem, and he guess so. I also guess they don't have a future for their relationships because it's a sad poem.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Now, so in both of these works of literature. In the Anna Akhmatova, we have conflict between the characters. And in the Three Bears, we have conflict between the bears on the one hand and the little girl on the other hand. Sometimes though we can have conflict. What other kind of conflict can you have? Like, so not only conflict between the characters, maybe you have conflict between people and nature, or people and society. People and society. Maybe you have internal conflict, right? You've read Anna Karenina, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of conflict did Anna have?
Oh, she has a lot of conflicts, She has a conflict with her husband. She has a conflict with herself. It's a great conflict. It's internal and awful, I guess. She has a conflict with society because society doesn't accept the divorce. So it was very difficult to divorce with a husband and not to lose a child. So there are a lot of conflicts.
A lot of conflicts.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's those conflicts that made the novel very interesting?
I guess so, and also its language, and yeah, so.
Good, super, very, very good. That's exactly right. I think it's the conflicts that gave that story so much of its energy, so much of its vitality. So much of this vitality. Igul, thank you, Tatiana. That's nicely done. Igul, how about point of view, the perspective? The perspective. Igul, in the story, The Three Bears. What is the point of view? Who tells that story? What does point of view mean?
The story tells by the author.
Yeah. Okay. And in the poem by Akhmatova, who tells us what is the point of view of the story?
There, she tells herself about her feelings. She wants to show what happens with her.
Mm-hmm. In the Three Bears, the point of view is that from an external narrator. But We Don't Know How to Say Goodbye, one of the characters is a point of view. You know what I think? I think she's complaining about him. I think she's complaining about him. I think she paints him in a negative light. Huh? He's a doomschief. You're moody. Are we different? That she's kind of complaining about the what do you think about that? Is she complaining?
Yes, I think so.
I think
she wanted to wanted to know what happened with him. She complain to him and try to understand the situation, why this conflict begins.
Right. Good for you. She's kind of pushing him, I think, a little bit. Good for you. Katya, tell us about the setting. What does setting mean?
Setting in my mind means what's there and how the events happen. It's not only the place, it's emotion, physical, social, and other conditions too. In the 3 years, I think the place is the forest. It's the open air. The first one, the girl is walking through the forest, enter to the house. It's a closed place, and her emotion is happy, I think, to eat the cake food, to sleep on the soft bed.
Yeah. Does the Three Bears, where does that take place? What is the setting for that? The Three Bears. What is the setting for that?
Where is the setting?
Yeah.
I think it's in the forest.
Yeah. And how about the poem? What's the setting for that? Where does the poem take place? Where is that? What is the setting?
I don't understand the question.
Just tell me, what is the setting for the poem? Where does the poem take place? The setting takes place.
What is setting for the poem? I understand.
Yeah.
I think it's a different place. We have to say it about the church, about
It's outside of church. Outside of church, and
the trumpet. No, the gallery. But I think it's not the real place. It's still inside.
It's outside. And what season of the year? What time of the year does the poem take place?
Autumn.
Autumn
and winter.
Do you think the poem would sound different if it were written in the springtime?
No, not I think so.
No, because the autumn.
Because she said it's everywhere is cold. She said is not everywhere in Russia in autumn.
Good for you. Okay, good. Good for you. All right. So Yulia, what about the language and the tone? Yulia, what's the language of the Three Bears? What's the tone of the Three Bears? What kind of images or symbolism or syntax or words or mental imagery are there in the Three Bears? Anybody?
Maybe in the chat.
Huh?
This is Abby. I was asking Yulia if she could maybe type in the chat box.
Could you type in the chat box? Type in the chat box the language, tone.
She says the language is very simple.
Language is very simple. It is very simple. And Yulia, listen. Write in the chat box what you tell me about this language. Девочка, к домику, медвежонок, подушечка, Mishukina. What kind of words are those? What kind of words are those? Who uses words like those? Yeah, the children's words. Those are words that you use when you talk to children to make the children understand each other. Mothers talk to their kids that way, and kids hear that language, and it's very familiar and very, very comforting. What about the language? What about the language in the poem? In the poem, what do you think about that language, Julia? The language in the poem. Is it romantic? Is it serious? Is it depression? Is it realistic? Is it fantasy? What's the emotion of that language in the poem? Okay, all right. Yulia, all right, that's good. I think Yulia, you got it. That's a good discussion. That's a good discussion. Time and duration. Well, that has to do with time and duration has to do with the sequence of events. Are we telling a story in a linear fashion? Are there flashbacks? Do we go back to earlier episodes? Is the time foreshortened? You know, do we do like a little slice here and a slice here and a slice here, or do we hear the whole story? Next week, we're going to read and analyze together another work of literature, one called The Story of an Hour. And we're going to ask you to read it, and then together we will analyze. Oh, I beg your pardon. No. Yeah, and together we will analyze that piece of literature. This was a good session today. We will give you a written assignment for next time. So make sure that you read it. Are there any questions or comments before we leave? I'll tell you what I would like to do. I would like somebody, one of you, to read the Russian of this piece of poetry. Who would be inclined to read this for? I put the Prashasa on the whiteboard. Could somebody read the Russian for me? Nadia, Tanya, could you read this in Russian? Yeah.
Мы не умеем прощаться. Все бродим плечо к плечу. Уже начинает смеркаться. Ты задумчив, а я молчу. В церковь войдем, увидим. Отпевание, крестины, брак. Не взглянув друг на друга, выйдем. Отчего все у нас не так? Или сядем на снег примятый, на кладбище, легко вздохнем. И ты палкой чертишь палаты, где мы будем вместе вдвоем.
Good. Nadia, thank you. Tanya. Huh? Tanya, how about reading it in English?
Tanya, your microphone.
Yeah. Sorry?
Yeah, it's okay.
Somebody
Sorry?
read it in English? Yeah?
Can you hear
Yes,
me now?
yes, we can hear you
Yes.
now.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry about that. We don't know. We don't know how to say goodbye. We wander on shoulder to shoulder. Already the sun is going down. You're moody. I'm your shadow. Let's step inside a church and watch baptism, marriages, masses for the dead. Why are we different from the rest? Outdoors again, each of us turns his head. Or else, let's sit in the graveyard on the trampled snow, sighing to each other. The stick in your hand is tracing mansions in which we shall always be together.
Good. Do you like the English, Tanya? Do you like the English?
Yeah, I guess that's a rather current version, and it it's good. Okay.
Okay. Well, does anyone else have any comments, Professor Marston?
I would agree with Professor Marston.
Yeah. Okay. It's writing poetry is very difficult. You know, even there's a Gucci Ayamo Shu, and she tries to, you're moody and I'm your shadow. I don't know if that's a very good translation of that line, but
I have to rely on the translation because I don't know the Russian, and I think the poem is very moving.
It's very moving. Okay.
Every translation is an interpretation, and when you study a poem like that's as famous as I'm sure this one is, every translation is going to be different. You could find 3 different English translations, and none of them would be exactly the same. I can say this with all confidence because I've done a lot of studies of translation. But this one I think is very moving. It makes me wish I knew Russian.
The Russian is very beautiful. I don't know, I'm not taken with the English version. There are some translations of poetry that I've seen that are masterful, that are just beautiful. And this one's fine.
This one's okay.
It's hard. It's hard. I'm not generally a fan of many versions of translations. There has to be a particularly good one for my taste.
Okay.
One of the things that I like about this is, even though I don't understand Russian, when I hear it read, I appreciate its musicality. It sings off the page, and so I like that very much. So I just wanted to say I think this has been a very good session, and as I wrote in the chat, it is normal for people listening to this much English when you're not native speakers of English can be very tiring and frustrating. And many of our students in the past have told us that they may only understand about half of what is said. But you should know that already next time, this will be very much easier. So don't feel discouraged, and make up your mind to enjoy the work. I certainly will enjoy seeing you all again next week, and I look forward to that.
I do as well.
And I would say it's hard, it's very tiring for me in Russian too, especially when I haven't been listening or speaking Russian. So I understand. I think all of us understand in the foreign languages that we've spoken, Professor Marston and Professor Lero, as well as myself, that it is very tiring because we've experienced that. So.
Well, thank you all very much. When you log out, you can go up to the menu at